We're good to go? Wonderful. It's now 7:02 p.m. On Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Education. I'm going to call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is an anticipated adjournment to executive session. Can I get a motion, please?
I move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss information relating to an ongoing or future criminal investigation or prosecution, collective bargaining negotiations, the employment history of particular persons, personnel matters and/or employee records, and matters deemed confidential by state or federal law, including seeking advice from counsel.
Second. It's been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 7:03 p.m. We're going to exec session. Thank you. In the open session is 8:35 p.m. and the next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Can I ask everyone to please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is the introduction of new hires. In our usual fashion, we introduce the new hires that we have for the district instructional hires to the community at our regular meeting the next month after they're hired. However, we had stopped that process in November, so now we're going to introduce new hires that have been hired in October, November, and December. Are any new hires here? Okay, okay, great. Please stand up, come to the mic to introduce yourself. Let us know your name, what building you'll be working in, and what you'll be doing here at Greenberg Central School District, please.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
I was actually a new hire, just started January 3rd. I don't know if that's
That's okay, thank you.
My name is Karen Del Cruz. I am a TA for the main ECP coding. I work with Ms. Bambo and Mrs. Ian.
Wonderful, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for working with our Ms. Cruz. And next we have,
Hello.
hello,
My name is Julie Yang.
hi Ms. Yang.
Nice to meet you. I'm the media associate here at RJB. I just want to say thank you all for the opportunity to work in this community. I've heard wonderful things about the staff and teachers. So thank you, and I look forward to meeting and working with them.
Thank you. And do we have other new staff members? New hires?
Hi, my name is Tyler Seinfeld. I'm a new hire on the TA at the middle high school, working primarily in the middle school and coaching for the district for 2 years now.
Wonderful. And are you, is Tyler Steinfeld responsible for the Wizards game that we all attended? Thank you, it was wonderful. So thank you for bringing that back to the district.
They'll be back next year.
Wonderful, thank you. And are there any other new hires? Okay. Hello.
Hi. So, I'm Lisa Video. I'm actually the school psychologist at Woodland Middle School. I was a lead replacement starting November of last year and was just hired as a probationary period this year.
Wonderful, nice to meet you, Mr. Leo. Any other new hires? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Burkina. I joined the team as the new educational technology specialist. I just wanted to thank Board of Education and administration for all of your support. I really feel a part of the Greenberg School District team, so thank you.
Wonderful, thank you very much. And I see another new staff coming, thank you all.
Hi, good evening. My name is Maureen Curley. I'm at Highview. I was hired as the school librarian / English teacher.
Wonderful, thank you, Ms. Curry. Are there any other new staff hires that we have here this evening? No? Well, thank you all for joining the Greenberg Central School District community. We appreciate you, and we hope that you appreciate us as well. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is a presentation from R.J. Bailey. You may notice we're in R.J. Bailey, not in the auditorium where we normally have our meetings because that's under construction, but we are in the gym. And I'm going to turn this presentation time over to Ms. Rossi. Thank you very much.
Good evening and welcome back to R.J. Bailey. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your time. I have the most important people in the building to deliver instruction to the students with me. They will introduce themselves. What we decided to present this year was to demonstrate to the community members, the family, the board, central administration, once we collect the data from all of the assessments, Pontus and Pinnell, iReady, we have data meetings, and then it's what do we do with the data? You know, we can put them on graphs and make them look beautiful and colorful, but the experts over here are going to explain to you how we use that data to drive instruction to learners across the entire spectrum. So we have the students who really need to be pushed, and the students who need a lot of extra support and intervention, and so they're going to explain how they do their magic. So I have today Ms. Robin Alves, Ms. Dory Brown, Ms. Melissa Copeland, Ms. Jean Marie Cregan, Ms. Leslie Datillo, Ms. Christine Gabbard, Ms. Robin Jorgensen, Ms. Nicole Manga, Ms. Dina Rodriguez, Ms. Anne Marie Shelburne, and then also Ms. Yang decided to join us as well. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay? Okay. My name is Christine Gabbard. I am a math teacher here at RJB, and I am the PLC leader for math. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our district math initiative and the role that PLC and PLC LT is playing. So one of the things we're trying to keep in mind at every meeting is that our goal is to increase the number of children who are testing on grade level as measured by both iReady and state test scores by 10%. And we want to show a year's growth for each one of our math students. students, as measured by iReady Math. One of the ways we're trying to achieve that is we're working with targeted leadership consultants to learn about cycles of professional learning. And we're focusing on professional reading, visitations between teachers, data analysis, and choosing powerful teaching practices. Right now, we're engaged in a study of the 3-read close reading strategy as a way to understand math problems. Our PLC is meeting 2 to 3 times a month to discuss our professional reading and our visits and to look at student data. So if we look at the next slide, we have devised these spreadsheets where we keep track of the students for each unit, looking at their pre-test, their mid-test, and their post-test scores to track each child and where they are. And then the major topics that are covered, we indicate whether the students have met or not met that. And doing that, we are able to identify which topics need the most reteach and which topics have been the most successful. So we take that data and we create our small groups for small group instruction in the class, and it helps us set our SMART goals for both the teachers and the students. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Anne-Marie Shovlin. I'm the reading specialist and AIS reading PLC leader. One of the main assessments that we use to determine a student's reading level here in Bailey and throughout Greenberg K6 is the BAS. It's by Francis and Cannell. It's the benchmark assessment system. The ELA teachers and the ENL teachers administer that assessment individually to students 3 times a year. It provides the teachers with information about the student's independent reading level, but also the level for which to instruct the student in guided reading. The reading specialist also analyzes that data with the ELA and ENL teachers to determine if the student is in need of additional reading support services.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Jean Wright Cregan, and I am one of the reading specialists here. And the interventions that we provide 3 different reading interventions. We provide Wilson reading for students that have decoding skills. For students that are not as, a little bit higher, we have just words to get them on grade level. That would typically happen in a year or a year and a half. And then we have another intervention, the LLI, and we had 2 reading teachers that pull out for the LLI. And in that program, they work on comprehension skills as well as priming skills, whatever the assessment the BAS showed. And so we can really work with students in small groups, and it helps really move the kids along.
Good evening, my name is Robin Jurgensen. I teach 6th grade ELA.
Good evening, my name is Melissa Copeland, and I'm the 6th grade IO teacher.
So Melissa and I teach a 90-minute block together every day, and there are different ways that we can assess the children, both formally, informally. One of the formal ways we do that, as Ms. Shovlin mentioned, was using the BAS. So we administer that 3 times a year, and then we both go into data meetings with the literacy coach, Lori DeAndrea, and the literacy specialist, and we discuss the strengths and weaknesses of the students. And an example of this would be at our first data meeting. We discovered, looking in the classroom, looking at the FAST data, that the students were really struggling with discovering the nonfiction message. They were fine with fiction, it came a little bit easier to them, but then when we got to the nonfiction expository text, they were struggling. So we decided to use that as an area to target in small groups.
So therefore, working in small groups, the readers are supported with new challenging level text that matches their reading behaviors. After reading, a guided discussion of a specific teaching point takes place. In this case, Ms. Jurgensen just stated the nonfiction message. Finally, students will engage in brief, active works such as stating a claim and supporting it with textual evidence.
And lastly, I just want to say it's also interdisciplinary. So the social studies and science teachers, who really their content is nonfiction, can back up the ELA teacher by exposing them to these nonfiction texts and using that, trying to identify the message. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Hi, my name is Dory Brown. I'm the ENL, English as a New Language teacher here at RJ, along with Ms. Jen, who we just met, and we're so happy to have her here. I'm going to talk about our data meetings as it applies to our English language learners. At these data meetings, the ENL teachers convene to discuss the individual ENL student progress in English literacy, along with the reading AIS teachers, classroom teachers, and our district coach, Lori DeAndrew. At these meetings, we discuss the students' strengths and weaknesses of the students that we have in common. We share the data from our latest BAS administration, which is done by the ENL teacher. We discuss the students' language proficiency level, iReady scores, progress with their English language development, and the whole child. We might discuss parent-teacher communication, how the student is doing in the classroom observations as well. We use the data to drive instruction. We might place the child in a reading AIS service if they need just words as discussed by the reading teacher or Wilson. The students might need LOI. ENL teachers are trained or will be trained in LOI as well. Or the student might need just a guided reading group, guided reading in their ELA block. After that, the next steps would be to infuse a lot of phonics into the child's curriculum and to work on vocabulary instruction in all content areas. We work on building the child's oral language as they learn English, keeping in mind that they have a silent period sometimes from 3 to 6 months, and we would reflect on the curriculum at our ELA PLC meetings, which is 2 to 3 times a month.
Everybody.
Okay.
I'm a woman of a certain age, so I have to move this up a little bit. Anyway, the ELA Out program at RJ Bailey is a comprehensive program that uses the data to really confirm that the students are in fact above grade level. And once we know that, we move them from their comfort zone to their stretch learning zone. And we do that through a comprehensive way or comprehensive program that includes basically novels, writing, and shared inquiry. In terms of the novels, each grade has 3 new novels every year. And with those novels, we have a big kickoff where we do book tasting, which is where they have little placemats at different places on the table along with a snack, and there are little books, different books placed on each placemat, and they taste the book. They get a little taste of different parts of the book. And they do that for maybe 5 minutes, and then we stop, and then we do that again, they choose a different book. And what that does, it just gets them excited, and then we come together and we talk about, what genre was that? What did you like? What did you dislike? Do you think you'll revisit? Do you need to abandon that book? So it just gets them excited. And then we have the big reveal, which is the new novel. So they like that. In terms of the culminating activities, we'll have writing, we will have projects that are done only in school. We have compare and contrast movie analysis, and sometimes we even have a visit from the author, which RJ Bailey was able to have the entire school previously. Then we have the writing program, which is the Writing Revolution, which is a great program. And we basically hone the skills that we've been working on and developing as, throughout the years as we work on brainstorming, planning, drafting, revising, editing, and finally publishing. Then we have shared inquiry, which is where we usually do great books and also articles of interest from the students. And it's really important to have articles of interest because you want it to be something they're excited about and something that they're motivated to debate about.
And once we have those, we debate basically. And what's interesting or what's exciting about it is that it reinforces certain things. One, it reinforces the skills or mirrors the skills that they need for the New York State test, which is you make a claim, you back it up with evidence, and you explain it. And when they debate, this is what they're doing. They have to make a claim, they have to back it up with evidence, and they have to explain it with passion. And what it also does, it really reinforces the importance of civil discourse, right? So that's something we always benefit from. We can agree to disagree. We can do it peacefully. So it puts them in that mindset as well. So, overall, yes, they're above grade level, but what we're proudest about is that they're hard workers. And I think when it comes to really discussing the program, sharing the program, or talking about the students, I think it's best when it's from the students themselves. So there's a short video I'd like to share.
I think we should keep rules because many beasts, and as I stated before, there are many wildlife cross highways, and also roads are not destroying habitats. They're taking part of that. They're not completely destroying habitats. Because how are you going to build a kill an animal that no, you shouldn't cross it there, but that you should cross it there? It's not like you can see the roof or something.
Because like what our mom said, I think that Saturday weather is the most useful for scientists and study because diamonds are used for many tools that we use. I respectfully disagree with you, Javier, because questions. Mars once had a ring like ours, and maybe even oceans, Turkey and the for life. This proves that if we find a way to make Mars how it was before in the beginning, we can use it to make it as a new planet in case of any problems happening around us, such as overpopulation, a nuclear winter, or etc. And this is we can get there easily, unlike Saturn, which is a gas planet and is hazardous for us because we yet don't have the technology to get there. Antelope already has a portable device that can be made. And it says, the text also states that 6 hours of electricity for 1 liter a year. This proves that you're generating electricity collectively from an entire people in your family to power your generator. If you were to use Antelope's device, every single person could generate electricity. The Antelope's shoes or electrical shoes are not accessible for everybody because of the fact that there's certain people that can't use them because they don't have legs. They don't have legs for them to use to walk, so they would be in a wheelchair, and it wouldn't be fair to them, and it wouldn't be able to help if they gave him $1 million, it wouldn't be able to help him make it for all the other people that can't use them to themselves.
And that's you. Thank you.
There's an old adage, you should never follow children or animals, right? That was very cute. So we'll make this really quick. So again, I'm Christine Gabbard. I'm a math AIS teacher here.
Good evening, I'm Dina Rodriguez, I'm the other math AIS teacher.
I At the beginning of the year, we look at New York State test data to determine which children qualify for AIS and which level. So I teach the standards-based program where our focus is on complex problem solving. We often use release questions from New York State tests with increasing complexity, and I work with the kids on how to use close reading techniques such as the 3-read strategy and diagrams to help think through problems.
And what I do in my program, it's called Do the Math by Marilyn Burns, and it's pretty much a computation-based program that helps build numerical reasoning to find out the best strategy, addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, just straight computation to help them solve different word problems and number problems. If a student is struggling in multiplication, we go back to addition and we'll start there and we'll start building those skills to find out where the gaps are to hopefully fill them.
And Mrs. Rodriguez and I both also push into classrooms using the data to determine which children need more challenging work. So we'll meet with small groups for that, or kids who need reteach. So we're able to work with small groups to help the general education math teacher with the class. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening, I'm Leslie Gatilla, one of the math teachers here at RJ Bailey.
I'm Robin Alves, I'm the ALP math teacher.
So how we use data to help us inform instruction in the math classroom to support all learners. First of all, we use a lot of the information by providing feedback to families and to our colleagues. Most importantly, we create small groups which allow us to differentiate skills that children might be needing if they need extra support on maybe learning prime and composite numbers or factors and multiples or word problems. We use those small groups to really kind of hone in on those kinds of needs. We'll be teaching them in the class, but that data is really important for us because it really helps us to challenge kids who might need a little bit of extra challenge or children who might need a little extra support.
So actually some of this we just did today in our PLC meeting in terms of homework, looking at groups of kids that may need extra support or may need a challenge, study guides that help them to be able to review the work before they take tests or to go over things that they were having challenges with. Looking at our post and look at our pre and post data to see where we can reteach them or to structure them in ways that we can push them to be better in terms of what they've been doing so far. Really, it's just about addressing the needs of individual students the best way possible, looking at the data to make sure that they are in that proximal range of education so they're getting exactly what they need. It's not too hard, it's not too easy, and it's right where their sweet spot is. Thank you.
Thank you all. So that is actually what we do in the classrooms, and what I wanted to share a little bit is some of the celebrations, some of the wonderful activities that we had here at Bailey. With the help and collaboration with Ms. Watson, she was able to connect us with Constant Development, who worked with Timberland. And I went down to the Timberland office with about 13 of our students and their parents over the summer. And the gentleman who represented Constant Development introduced us to the managers and some of the designers at Timberland. And they were so impressed with some of the designs that were created by Greenberg students that they decided to have a little contest, and they took the prototypes, or the drawings, I should say, of two of our students, and they created a prototype, and it's very, very costly. And because of that, Timberland said, I think that we might have some designs that we can actually sell. So with this year's group, is they may find another artist, maybe these two students as well, and they may wind up creating this shoe that they can actually sell to the general public. So we just wanted to share some of the celebrations. This is Constant Development in Timberland. And then with the help of this very humble professional here, Mr. McLean, he worked with every single science teacher. He gave up his lunchtime, and he had a paper tower challenge in the Innovation Lab. And these students competed for whoever can create the highest tower. And we actually celebrated with some winners, had some gifts. It was a lot of fun, involved the teachers with measuring and the students just coming to using their critical thinking skills, but also just the power of collaboration. Some of them just totally gave up. They broke and they started again, which was the best lesson that they learned. So, for us, when we're talking about data, this is also data, just seeing their thinking come alive. We also had a wonderful Chinese New Year celebration. Our Mandarin teacher, Ms. Zhang, collaborated with the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, and they put on a wonderful celebration. So we had 3 different assemblies in here, 1 for each grade, and just wanted to, show the students, showcase what they're learning in Mandarin. And last but not least, as you can see outside by the auditorium, Mr. Thorpe works with all 6th graders, and they worked on their projects representing what they learned in Egypt. They presented to one another. They're still in the process. And the most exciting part of all is seeing the 5th graders getting excited about what they're going to do next year. So I just wanted to share some of these highlights with you. Thank you. If you have any questions for us, hopefully we can answer them to the best of our ability.
Any trustees with any questions, comments? Trustee Warner?
Sure. Back on the portion where we were talking about nonfiction text, and that we were reinforcing that nonfiction text that's presented in the ELA classes with science and social studies. My question is, does any of the content come from the science or social studies classes and migrate its way back to the ELA?
So the sciences and social studies teachers are going to use their content, but they're emulating the strategies, the reading strategies that the ELA teachers are sharing. We actually reached out to our literacy coach, who reached out to the trainer from Fontes Pinel, and she is going to be here in a couple of weeks, and she's going to collaborate with ELA science and social studies teachers on each grade level to talk about how they can move students and improve their comprehension.
Okay, so it doesn't flow from the science and social studies to the ELA. The ELA is coming up with its own content, and they're just mirroring and figuring out what skills they need.
So the social studies teachers and the science teachers are using their content, whatever it is they're teaching, and then they are working with the ELA teachers to use those strategies to help students, and then they will collaborate once again with the ELA so we can go back and forth from one class to the next.
Good. All right, next question. The data meetings. I assume there's a cycle, and every so often you have a series of tests, pre-test, mid-test, post-test, and then you meet and you have your data. How often do they meet?
We meet 3 times a year, so we meet once the first set of the Fontes Pinel VAS data is collected. We will meet with the literacy coach, the ELA teacher, and we set aside a day for each reading specialist, so we talk about student by student, where the student is, why is it that, let's say, sheep is not moving from the F, has it moved, what is the need, what is the reading behavior that we see that needs to be targeted. And we just started it with math, the math coach, Ms. Kelly Gillen. So we have that as well, and we're meeting at the end of each unit test, along with the math PLC. And again, to go student by student, Ms. Rodriguez, Ms. Gabbard are also there to say, okay, if I'm servicing that student in my AIS program, what do I need to work on, or what can I give the classroom teacher that can help that student learn small group instruction?
Thank you. Last question. Alp, I was really impressed with the debating prowess of the various grade levels of students that they showed us. I didn't expect at 4th grade that you would get almost the same level of debating ability as at 6th grade. My question is, how much prep time did they go through before they had those debates? How long was the unit?
A week.
1 week. Okay. Thank you.
Any other trustees with questions, comments? Trustee Washington.
So I have a question for the AIS teachers. When you are looking at your data, does the data include our self-contained special education students also for Wilson, Just Words, and then the Math AIS? So self-contained, our ICT babies are also being able to have the services of AIS?
Yeah.
Yes.
So for math, for my program, Do the Math is being utilized in the classroom, the self-contained classroom. So I'm not pulling them out, but the self-contained teachers are working on Do the Math program with them.
So the self-contained teachers are in the classroom
Correct.
using your program, but you don't pull them out?
Correct.
But you do push into them?
I don't push into the self-contained because they're utilizing the program. I push into the gen ed and I pull ICT or gen ed students.
Okay.
And for AIS, for reading,
Wilson?
for Wilson, I pull self-contained students as well as ICO students and
So special education students receive both Wilson and Just Words, but for LLI, the self-contained teachers and the ICO teachers are also trained in LLI, so they're the ones that provide the LLI instruction.
And can you just, as educators, we use a lot of acronyms. Can you, no, we all do it. Can you just say what LLI is?
So LLI is a Fontes and Pinnell program. It stands for Leveled Literacy Intervention, and the focus of the program is improving comprehension, and it works on writing skills, where Wilson and Just Words are more focused on spelling and reading of words.
Okay, and then I have another question in reference to ALP. The ALP students are the only students that get to read an actual novel?
No.
Everybody else gets to read a novel?
Yes, so in the Gen Ed ELA classes at self-contained, we save a novel for the spring. So in 6th grade, we read Bud Not Buddy by Christopher Paul.
So it's one novel for the whole entire school year? Do they have guided reading, Fontes and Pinnell?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But as a novel, like Ms. Megan was saying,
Yes,
right.
the novel study comes in the spring.
The novel study comes in the spring. Oh, okay, and that's it.
Any other trustees with questions, concerns? Someone over here? No? Okay, thank you, Ms. Rossi, for your presentation, and thank you to all our teachers that came out today. Next on our agenda is a strategic plan discussion. You'll see that we're timed for 30 minutes. We're going to keep it to 15. And we're going to hear from Dr. Iverson with the summary overview of the strategic plan and where we are today. Thank you. Good night.
So good evening. I will be providing a summary overview of our strategic plan. This has been a very comprehensive and thorough process that we've been engaged in, and we are at the very end of that process. And what I will discuss and share with you tonight is just an overview. So I'm very proud and feel that our strategic plan is providing clarity and focus for the district over the next 5 years. It focuses on students and their learning in curricular areas, and it creates consistency and alignment across the district. It connects the best of the past with what we want in the future. And it provides progressive practice. It serves as the connective tissue of multiple initiatives, maps out our work, professional development, and resource allocation. It includes what we must do, mandated, what we intend to enrich, extensions, and what we want to try. So it's also aspirational. It tracks progress and accountability to the school and to the broader community, something we can all be proud of. The plan was developed in 4 phases. Phase 1 is where a group of stakeholders develop and revise and redefine our mission and vision and identify the 4 areas of focus, which are 5 areas of focus: student success, infrastructure, communications and engagement, safe and healthy climate and culture, and premier workforce. Phase 2, subcommittees were formed and assigned a focus area. We moved into phase 3, where administration detailed in each focus area the strategic goals, key action plans, activities, and timeline to cover and to accomplish the activities. Phase 4, and that phase 3 took some time over a series of the summer and meeting with key subgroups to really go really deep on how this plan will develop these focus areas into key, very good action steps. We then passed the plan over to our board, the governance level, where the board, along with central administration members, identified the measures of accountability to monitor action plans over the 5-year period. 2 highlights of the plan that I want to share is a description in our plan of the portrait of the graduate, which will become the lens through which we will achieve our mission, meet the demands of our changing economy and workforce, and prepare our Greenbird students for the 21st century to make sure they have the skills, knowledge, life, and career habits and traits that are important to success in today's work world as they transition either to college or to the workforce. Our commitment to the Greenbird graduate is that they will leave the district as collaborative, creative, communicators, and critical thinkers. The second highlight of the strategic plan is the focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. During this phase, it became apparent to the administration that a second lens through which Greenbird will achieve this vision must also be grounded in a cultural and responsive view of education and learning. It was in this phase where we incorporated the New York State Department framework of culturally responsive and sustaining education that includes welcoming environments with high expectations, rigorous instruction that affirms the culturally identity of students, and foster positive academic outcomes and develop abilities for all students. That is the overview of what's in the plan. Each plan, again, is detailed with very specific actions the board has been reviewing and editing and going over. In summary, though, it is prospective and reflective. It provides both transparency and accountability. Mostly, it communicates our shared vision and the methods by which we will achieve it. It is the plan and the common language that we will all use for the next 5 years.
Thank you, Dr. Iverson. That's it. Are there any questions? Yes, Trustee Beneda?
I just want to add a comment here. So the strategic plan subcommittee has spent a lot of time working with administration on the current draft of the strategic plan phase 4. There are 3 trustees on that subcommittee. So for the remaining 4, the plan moving forward is on February 7th, we have a work session starting at 6:30 is what we have here on the calendar. We wanted to have a high-level conversation with questions that any of those trustees may have during that meeting, with the goal of trying to get us to a place of adoption, hopefully for the February 28th meeting, wrapping that up. So if you can please spend some time between now and then, working through all 25 pages or so, digging through the details, that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Pineda. Any other questions, concerns? No? All righty. Trustee Warner?
I just have some slight revisions that I sent an email about in terms of we finally passed our proposal for the energy performance contract, and one of the goals under infrastructure needs to have some slight revisions to it, so I'm wondering if that can get folded into the draft that gets looked at on the February 7th.
I'm sorry, I missed this email. Okay. You want this to be added to the document?
Right.
Okay. So I don't know who owns the document. I just have a, okay.
You can send that.
Great.
Okay.
You already have it.
Is Dr. Iverson on this?
She's on the Board of Education distribution list, correct? Yeah.
What? Yes. Okay, so you have it. If we could just add that edit and then we'll look at it. But how will, so we need access to the document. Right now we have the document attached to one of our board packets. So we would need the updated, I guess.
I will send out a new copy with the edits.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, any other questions, concerns? No? Okay.
I'll try to have it by Friday.
Okay. Yes, Trustee Garland?
So just to clarify, if we have
suggested, Adam, do you prefer that we wait until the February 7th work session to discuss them? Or should we send edits to the superintendent and then discuss the high level, basically the final nitty gritty of everything? Just clarify the process, please, Trustee Bader, Trustee Mayor, Trustee Pineda. As far as what you want us to do between now and February 7th?
Yeah, so
what you want us to do on February 7th?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So what we talked about during our last meeting was we were going to take the suggestions we had previously made that happened after our last meeting and fold them into the document as such. And then the questions that we had sent for further discussion would be what we would raise again at this level on the February 7th meeting to start that meeting and then hopefully wrap it up by the 28th.
So the few items I recall that need to be discussed, we're not discussing tonight.
Correct, because we're short on time.
Great, thank you.
And I don't think everyone necessarily knows the items that needs to be discussed, everyone. So I don't know if someone can pen into an email, or I would hate for February 7th, the items to come up and trustees who have not heard those concerns not have time to digest them.
So those questions were previously sent already. Okay. So Dr. Iverson, if you could just fold in those questions, not the questions, the corrections that we had to this version of the draft. If you could just make sure those are in here along with what Trustee Warner sent today. And that'll be the revised version you'll send out hopefully Friday or.
So I haven't seen any corrections. Right.
So they were emails that we sent to you as well as IB in the past.
Yes, were they sent recently? Were they sent this
So the questions that were sent previously, I did see were folded into the current version of this. Save the email that Mr. Warner sent today. As far as the questions that we left pending, that we just, in the small committee, there were some items that we had a discussion on, and it was suggested that that be a broader discussion for the full board. So I understand, Trustee Mayors, that you would like to be clued into everybody as to what those 2 to 3 items were. Yeah. But I think we're also probably thinking that the other 4 members of the board who have yet to really give their input on this document, besides the issues we identified, it'd be helpful. We don't want you to be winnowing in only on those issues. We want you guys to look at the document with fresh eyes to come up with your own issues. I believe.
Yes, that is true, but Trustee Valen, I don't want to hear the issues on the 7th and right here in a meeting have to think it through, and then, after I process it, have additional questions yet we're expected to adopt it at the next meeting. I would rather hear those issues now, have those issues as I'm reading through in my mind. Those are the things, this is what they were referring to. And then on the 7th, if I have any additional questions about it, or if it's resolved for me, because we're into 2 meetings, we're 1 meeting discuss, next meeting adopt. Yes, Trustee Pineda?
So those questions are already provided, probably not to the remaining 4 trustees. So Dr. Iverson, those emails that we previously sent you, whatever was not folded into this document can be added as discussion questions that we already provided and put together in the, like an addendum to this when you send the latest update, so the board can see those questions so that you guys can start formulating your thoughts. And then the concept was on the 7th, we would further talk about those talking points to see what the board as a whole felt for each one of those questions and then move forward.
And I'm just going to jump in and say all this time we've been talking, we could have brought up the issues and kept going. All this time we've been talking about.
You'd be surprised how long they take.
It would take much longer.
Well, at least we could have just had a bullet and then went, went forward, but okay.
Do you committee members want to share the actual topics, broader topics, so we know what the issues are? Trustee Pineda? Trustee Valen?
I will tell you from my perspective, if we start that now, we're going to go way past 15 minutes, which we just talked about. So if you wanted to get into that, we can, but it's going to be a lengthy conversation. So I would advise we don't do that now.
Trustee Valen?
I agree, but to appease, just to highlight some things, if you could just go to the document, go to page 14, item 3, circle back is something that we all need to discuss.
Page 14.
Page 14, the 3rd item down, is something that had a discussion that needs to be decided. Sorry, there's just 2 to 3. I'm going to quickly go down.
Okay. That was one. Is there others?
Just 1 second. There was a brief discussion, page 16, the second one from the bottom, just circle that. There's something that needs to be fleshed out there. Page 16, the second one from the bottom, circle that. There's not a lot of debate over it, it's just a matter of how often. I think those are, like I said, there was only 2 or 3 things that we definitely all agreed needed to be discussed. There's one more, but I don't know where it is. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Okay?
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. For us to pay attention to. And the only thing I wanted to ask that I really don't want to wait until next meeting is the colors on here. You can maybe send it Dr. Iverson in the addendum to us. I know the colors on the document are progressive changes that were made. Things were taken out, things were added, things were reworded. I would like to know what color means what. So I understand the black text is where we are now for sure, and was original. But what level of edit every color is in? Because if there's something in another color that I'm interested in discussing, I would like to know when that came out, and I'm going to ask why that came out.
We do have a legend for that.
We do have a, okay, great.
So what color represents which draft?
Which draft, right. Okay, any other?
I'll send that as well.
Awesome. Any other questions, concerns, comments? No, hearing none, let's move on to our next item. Committee reports. Are there any committee reports from the Board of Education members?
Trustee Ballard. Just quickly, the audit committee met yesterday. The majority of the meeting was in executive session to consider employment history of particular firms for external auditing services. The committee will be making a recommendation to the full board for action in February for those services. Second note, the Governance and Policy Committee meeting. The next one will be next Monday, the 30th at 4 p.m. in the Innovation Lab. All are welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any other updates, committee reports, Trustee Warner?
Okay, so this is a report on the Finance and Facilities Committee. I may not read all of it. The Finance and Facilities Committee met on 1/1/23 at 6:30 p.m. at Woodlands Middle High School Innovation Lab and on Zoom. We discussed the energy performance contract with Con Edison Solutions. On 1/17/23, a public vote was held on a proposition authorizing 10% New York State aid for a maximum of $21 million for an energy performance contract project. Unofficial vote results, approximately 97% of voters approved. Yes, 339, no, 27. Thanks to staff and community for informing the public and taking and counting the vote. The next steps, detailed design work, including gas line routing, boiler replacements and controls, project submission to NYSED. It's going to take till June to get ready to submit to NYSED, with expected approval from them by December. Legal review of the contract runs concurrently. Municipal lease finance rates, which is what the form of borrowing we're going to use to finance this thing, and project scope will be finalized and the contract signed in January or February of 2024. Lighting installation begins spring 2024 with project completion by June 2025. So it's going to take a while. And then we start our 18-year countdown to pay the thing off. But of course, there's no effect on the taxes. The district-wide draft strategic plan should be updated to reflect these milestones. That was what I just gave Dr. Iverson. We're concerned about interest rate increases between now and January 2024, when the rates are locked in for our contract. Lisa Raymond will obtain tax-free municipal lease rate projections for various interest rates from our financial advisor. By the way, American Rescue Plan, $1.6 million worth of ventilation funds can be used to offset increased interest rates because it will cover anything having to do with ventilation. ARP finance projects must be submitted to New York State Education Department by October of 2023. So we have a window to decide what we're going to do there. Any reduction in scope of the project would begin with Woodlands rooftop units. We don't lose that if we can avoid it. So we're juggling a number of balls at the same time to make it all come out right, but we're working on it. BBS efforts to speed up the design process prior to New York State Education Department submission are limited by dependencies on Con Edison to provide survey and design specification information. We tried to get that to happen a little bit in advance prior to the vote, but I think they held off a little too long, so we are where we are. Third-party review, which is a method of having a third party other than New York State Education Department do part of the work of reviewing the project, could shorten NYSED review time, but fees are at least $20,000, and that's Con Edison's decision at this point, whether they can fit that into their scope. Communication between BBS and Con Edison Solutions is constant during the design phase of the project. We're talking to each other every day. Once the contract is signed, both the energy savings and the scope of the project are guaranteed by Con Edison Solutions. And I'm going to send you the draft of the balance of this report about all the other topics we talked about. We talked about the high-view roof being done. We talked about progress on the mansion roof. We talked about a number of things that were done at various schools. I will send that all to you. The next meeting, we're going to talk about phase 2. We said once we got the energy performance contract nailed down and on its way, that the next thing to do would be to deal with phase 2. Priorities of that include ventilation, building envelopes, building condition survey priority 1 and 2 items, that is the highest priority items, and ECP classrooms. Administration is to make a formal proposal on phase 2 at an upcoming meeting. Materials from previous estimates will be reviewed at the next Finance and Facilities Committee meeting, which is coming on February 16th at 6:30 p.m. at Woodlands Innovation Lab or via Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Warner. Are there any questions or comments regarding the report? Hearing none. Any other committee reports? Yes, Trustee Pineda.
So given the hour, I'm going to skip my committee report, but I do want to make an announcement. There was a Safety and Technology Committee meeting scheduled for tomorrow, January 25th at 5:30 p.m. That has been canceled due to a scheduling conflict. So our next meeting of the Safety and Technology Committee will be occurring a week and a half later on Monday, February 6th at 5:30 p.m. in the Woodlands Middle High School Innovation Lab. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Pineda. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Any other committees? I did send an email to the board, I believe, I hope I didn't forget, about related to a request that we received from a community member to address the Governmental Relations Committee. Did I send this email? No? Okay. Must have left it in draft. That there is some talk of one of the unincorporated areas, Edgemont. I did, good, is planning or trying to incorporate, and that will affect the tax dollars of the families in Fairview and Hartsdale, and that thus will possibly affect anyone supporting any action that the district may take that may or may not increase any, or perceive to increase any tax dollars. So the request was that we write a letter to our senator. Is anyone interested in serving on the Governmental Relations Committee, being involved in a letter? Or would we like to handle this as a committee of the board? So what is your pleasure? Don't all talk at once. Does anyone have an opinion on, let's go first, whether or not we want to handle this as a smaller committee or as a larger group of the whole? Trustee Warner, I see you moving.
You see me moving. Okay, so from my perspective, I don't disagree. I think that that certainly that's a no-brainer. If you pull money out of the town of Greenburgh tax base, then the town of Greenburgh may respond by attempting to increase the tax rate overall, and that will have a deleterious effect on our ability to float bonds and finance things for our particular school district. So I have no issue there. I think probably we should have a committee look at this and figure out how to attack it. And we should also make sure that we're on not too shaky legal ground when we figure out how we reach out beyond the issues that are specific to education. So yeah, I think appointing a committee is okay. I don't want to chair the committee. I'm willing to serve on it.
Thank you, Trustee Warner. Any other trustees want to chime in? I'll just go around and call everyone. Okay, Trustee Long, what is your position on it? Trustee Warner is at committee.
I agree with committee, and I would be willing to serve on the committee.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Washington?
I was going to say committee of the board.
Okay, Trustee Pineda?
I agree with everything Trustee Warner said, including committee.
And Trustee Valen?
Give me 2 more seconds, please.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Trustee Thomas?
Committee.
Okay, committee it is. And I heard Trustee Warner and a Long interested in the committee. Pineda, did you say, you said you agree with everything? You want to accept me on the committee? Okay. Warner does not want to chair the committee. Is there another trustee interested in serving on the committee? Trustee Valen, you're moving.
I'd be willing to serve on the committee. I prefer not to chair.
That makes you the chair of the committee, Trustee Long. So, congratulations. And Dr. Iverson is most likely the liaison unless you want to delegate that. Okay. So, Trustee Long, Warner, Valen, please get together with with Dr. Iverson and have some discussion about moving forward, as well as keep me in the loop so that if you do need legal, because I did hear you say you do think there might be some legal concerns, or Dr. Iverson, even you talk with Carol often. Okay, thank you. We can move forward. Is there any other questions, concerns, comments about committees? No? Okay, next on our agenda is board president's report. I will table that in the essence of time. Public comments? No, okay. Great, next we have our meeting approvals. However, I understand the board wants to return to a second executive session. The time is now 9:35. Can I get a motion, please? Yes,
I move that we adjourn to the executive session to discuss the employment history of particular persons, personnel matters, and/or employee records.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Trustee Pineda?
I just want to acknowledge ex officio student board member that is present here tonight to my left. Thank you for coming tonight. Is there anything you would like to say? Or okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Trustee Pineda. That was a big oversight that I forgot. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Lorente, if I pronounced correctly. And you don't have a report or anything, but you are here, you're hearing the presentation, and please communicate with the student body anything that you've learned from the meeting today. Thank you so much. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. To the public, I do not know how long we will be. Hopefully not too long, but we will return to our regular meeting approvals. Thank you. We're good?
Yep.
We're live. Welcome back, everyone. It's 11:47 p.m. We're going to return to our agenda. And now the agenda is at item E, regular meeting approvals. Section B1, personnel instructional items, which is section F if we move forward. Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening as amended, including the addition of item number F13, which is, be it resolved as recommended by the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the leave replacement appointment of Jenna Dangler in the tenure area of elementary at a salary of $59,065 prorated BA Step 1, effective February 27, 2023, ending June 30, 2024. J. Dangler, certified in childcare education, grades 1 through 6, which qualifies them to serve in the schools of New York State. Note, J. Dangler shall be assigned to R.J. Bailey Elementary School for the 2022-23 school year, replacing Peter Farrow, whose unpaid administrative leave was approved at the December 20, 2022 Board of Education meeting. Said cost will be paid from the general fund.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Personnel non-instructional items.
I move that we approve the non-instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening.
As amended?
No, I think it's the next one that's amended, isn't it?
C5, I thought.
This is, yeah.
That's this one. As amended.
Second.
It's been
Wait, have we listed what the amendment is yet?
It's been properly moved and second. Is there any discussion on the amendment, maybe? Say
We should
it
read what the
publicly if
amendment
anyone would like to do that, maybe.
So the amendment is to item 5, am I correct?
G5.
G5, yes. And we're changing the salary to $31,722, and that's step 2, not step 1.
Thank you, Trustee Warner. Is there any discussion? Thank you, Trustee Warner. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Board action items, E3.
I move that we approve the board action items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item E4, pupil personnel services item.
I move that we approve the pupil personnel services items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried.
I move that we approve the finance items presented to the board for approval this evening. This is section I.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion? I am going to discuss that this should be listed as item E5. Normally, unless I'm remembering the agendas wrong, I'm looking to you,
It
Trustee
usually
Warner.
goes between board action and pupil personnel. There will be another motion that I will make in a second.
You will, okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Trustee Valen, you have a motion?
I move that we approve the business items presented to the board for approval this evening, which is section J. Refer to page 15 of your board copy.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And we're now at closing items. Is there any new business? Sorry, hold on, please. We did pupil personnel.
We did pupil personnel, it was listed.
No, it's okay.
Are we missing a category?
Huh?
Did we get board action?
We did board action.
Okay,
We
so we're good.
did. I'm sorry for the confusion, it's late. Next, we have closing items. L1 is new business. Any new business? Hearing none, can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned, 11:52 p.m. Thank you.